Hello and welcome to this live recorded video tutorial for Ecdesign. And in this first video, we're going to help you get started with the basics of creating a layout using Ecdesign. And I've started up my software and we're currently looking at the Start menu. And at the top here, we have quick access to various options in Ecdesign. The first one is to create a new project, which we're just about to do. Then we have open project, which means I can get my saved files quickly from there and open it up in Ecdesign again. Then we have the check for update option and the tutorial section, so quick access to see those videos that we're working on right now here. And then the support section, where you can quickly get help regarding anything with Ecdesign. And on the bottom here, we have the most recent projects that I've been working on. So same thing for you. When you want to load one of those recent projects, simply click on it and load project button. To my right, I have the Twitter flow for Ecdesign. And here you can get up-to-date information about software updates and other things that are of interest for Ecdesign. Now we're going to start. So I'm going to click on Create Project. And we see the second menu called the project menu. And here we're going to go through 3 simple steps. First, we're going to select the name. So I'll type in my project 1. And below is the default location where that file will be saved. But you can click the browse button and select a different location if you like. The second thing we need to do is decide on which type of project we would like to create. And you can start with empty project, which means we just have the grid and we build our layout from there. Or you can use from drawing and you can import a PDF or a JPEG 2D drawing and use as a template. So for example, if you receive a customer's drawing, you can import it and use it to create your 3D layout as a template. So this is a very helpful option. We're going to have a look at that a little bit later on. For now, we're going to start very basics. We're going to have an empty project. And then finally, we have the project settings. And the first thing is unit. I need to decide if I want to create a layout in meter or feet. And I'm going to select meter. Then we're going to set some standards here. What is the most common wall thickness and ceiling height? And I'm going to say that in this layout, 5.2 meters will be the most common ceiling height. Later on, I can have multiple ceiling heights, sloping ceilings. I can have different wall thicknesses. We're just setting a standard here. Then I can decide if I want to show the baseboard on the wall or not as a standard. Finally, we have the materials. We have wall, ceiling, and floor materials that we can select. And we're once again setting the standard here, and later on we can customize and have multiple floor options in different rooms or inside one room even. For example, so we'll select floor type, and I'm in the material menu for the floor in Ecdesign, and I have a long list of different options here. So for example, wood floors, tiling, and so on. Standard materials, and I can pick standard materials. I can go to custom, and here you see the latest custom images that I placed on the floor, for example. So if you have a JPEG image or that you want to use in the layout on the floor or on the walls, for example, then you click on the folder here icon. That will open up your computer and you can pick the image that you want to use in the scene. And we're going to have a look at this option a little bit later on. Then we have color. Here are the latest colors I've been using in different layouts. If you click on choose color, the Windows color scheme will appear and you can slide the bars to get that color that you want to use in the layout and click OK, and it will appear as a thumbnail, and you can select it if you want and use it as a standard color. But for this, we're going to select the wood floor and we'll select this one, bluest activation color in Ecdesign, and then we click use. We'll do ceiling as well, so click the select button. There we have the standard ceilings with built-in lights, but you can go to custom or color as well. I'm going to pick a ceiling here with built-in square lights. Finally, wallpaper. Very similar to the other menus here. We have assorted where I can pick glass that will, if I'm doing glass walls, for example, brick, and the list goes on. And you can also do custom, upload your own images on the wall, or use standard colors. Let's pick a color here. We'll do a white color that I've used in the past and click use. That's it. That's all we need to do in the project menu. Now we're going to click on create project and we'll see the full 2D interface of Ecdesign 4. And in this view, if you use previous versions of Ecdesign, you'll recognize the tab structure up to your left here. And the tab structure is kind of the heart of the 2D in Ecdesign. In each tab you find tools that you need to build your layout. And depending on what you're doing, you need to be standing in a certain tab. The first one, which is by default blue, is called Rooms. This tab needs to be active when we're building the room or changing floor colors, for example, or changing, editing ceiling heights, and so on. Anything that has to do with the room structure, then you need to be in the Room tab. Then you have Gaps, which is the menu for doors, windows, and openings. And then we have the objects. And in this case, this version I'm running right now is a fitness version, so you'll see a lot of fitness equipment. And the list goes on. And we're going to go through all the tabs, but just to give you an idea that it works like layers. So depending on what I'm doing, I need to be in one of those tabs. So we'll go back to the Room tab. And before I start doing drawing my walls, I want to mention I'm using a real mouse with a scroll wheel, because when I have that, I can use that scroll wheel to zoom out from the layout. And when I do that, you'll see that the rulers on the sides here change its intervals. And wherever I place my mouse and scroll, that is where I will zoom back in when I scroll the wheel away from me. If I push down on the scroll wheel or the right mouse button and keep it pressed, I can move my layout when I move my mouse as well. So you can pan the layout. Currently we see the grid. If you don't want to see the grid, you can go up here and unmark grid, and then you have a blank background. But I always use the grid. I like that. And finally we have an X marker right here showing the 0, 0 point. Okay, we're ready to get started. We're going to click on the draw room icon. That comes, it turns into blue. Then we move into the layout. And if you left mouse click close to that 0 point, it's actually going to automatically snap to that 0 point. So I'm going to left mouse click once, and then I can start moving. So I click, let go of the mouse left button, move, and click wherever I want to stop. And we'll stop right here, because if you look in the top right corner now, it says 90, and it says X and Y information, 20 and 2, and finally it says 2. The 90 is the angle of the wall. So if I move my mouse around a little bit here, you'll see that that angle measurement changes. And then of course X and Y is just my current position. And finally 2 is the current distance of this wall. And in Ecdesign you can click, move, and click to create a wall. But you can also just position or align your wall like this and type in a measurement. So let's type in 10. And then I need to press enter, and you'll see a wall come out. That's 10 meters. So I don't need to be standing in any field. I can directly type on my keyboard once I've aligned my wall and type in that measurement and press enter. Now I'll create a wall manually. Click, move, click, move, and click. And when two walls are parallel, like this, you see a red supported line. So that helps you align your walls correctly. Same thing over here. We see it once more. We'll click again. And when we close this up, we will have our first room ready. And you see that floor texture that we picked from the start. If you want to be able to see the grid, you just go up to show floor color and unmark that. And we see the grid again. But I kind of like seeing the floor. It makes it more realistic. So I'll keep that. If you want to make any changes, you can grab a hold of each end section like this and make changes. You can grab a hold of an entire wall and make changes. And if you make something completely wrong, you can use the undo or the redo button. And the undo and redo feature works for all the equipment as well when we start doing our space planning or the any movements, any task I do in Ecdesign, I can use the undo and redo option. So we'll do some undo there. Okay, we've created our first room, and we could of course go into 3D right now, but we'll add one more room before we do that. So we'll click the draw room button again, and I could start building my layout anywhere, but I'm going to start over here. Left mouse click, click, move, click, move. And there we go. Now we have 2 rooms. And if we click on the 3D button for the first time, we're going to enter the live 3D scene. And here we go. Now we're in 3D. And when I start up, and when you start up Ecdesign for the first time, this help guide will appear, because you have options here to navigate in different ways, and also some other things that we're going to come to later. If you don't want to see that help, you can always click on show on startup and unmark that and just close it. Then it will not appear the next time you come in. But you can always click that exclamation point, question mark, sorry, and see it. Here in the live 3D, we have 4 ways of navigating: walk, top view, game mode, and orbit. And if the first one, walk, is by default selected when you go into 3D. And it allows me to hold down my right mouse button and look around. And I can use the keyboard combinations that is shown in the guide to move around in the scene. And we can go up and down as well. The second option is fly, brings us to top view, and we can use the scroll bar, and I'll close that help guide. We can just use the scroll wheels and zoom in or out. Game mode is very similar to the walk option. It's just that I can look around without holding down my right mouse button. And to exit the game mode, press escape. Finally, the last option is called orbit, and I like this one. When you click on it, it brings you into a top side view here. And I can scroll away or towards the layout. And if I hold down my right mouse button and move my mouse at the same time, while keeping the right mouse button pressed, I can rotate the layout. And if I hold down the space key at the same time, I can tilt the layout towards me and get that proper angle. Okay, that was a short introduction to how to navigate in the live 3D scene. Now we'll close the 3D and we're back into 2D. Now we have 2 exactly similar rooms. The same ceiling height, the same floor colors, the same wall colors, everything. And now we have 2 options. We can change the information, customize the layout in an entire room or individual walls. And we're going to start by making some changes to an entire room. And you do that by first making sure you're in the room tab, so we know that that tab is active. And then I can click inside one of these 2 rooms. And when I click inside one of these 2 rooms, we'll start over here, for example, we get a room property menu. And that is for this room alone. And I can change the floor height if I want to raise up the floor in this room. If I want to change the ceiling height, maybe let's increase that to 6 meters. Then I have a few options on hide and show, like if I want to hide the ceiling or hide the floor when I'm in 3D, you can just mark those 2. Importantly is that you can see the current square meter, so it's 80 square meters for this room. If I want, I can always hide all those walls that are combined in this room. A lot of people use this when they create a trade show booth, for example, and they create a big area and they can hide all the walls and just have the floor sections. So that is one way of using that. Then we come to the materials. And now I can customize the ceiling, the floor, and the wall materials in this room alone. And it will affect all the walls that are connected together here, creating the room. So for example, if I want to change the floor material, we'll click on floor material and we get that menu for floor, and we can go in and let's pick a dark gray floor and click use. And then if I want, I can change all the wall colors on the inside or all the wall colors on the outside by simply making sure I'm active in this room and then wall inside materials, for example. And we can pick a different color. Let's pick a green color like that and click use. Of course, we don't see the result of that change because we're in top view. We need to go into 3D and see that, and we'll do it in just a second. Now I'm going to activate the room next to it, the bigger room. Same menu appears, and I can go down here, and I want to make some changes to the current floor that I picked here. I like that wood floor, but I want to rotate the floor, and you do that using the bar here. Just slide it to wherever you want it to be. If you want, you can also scale that floor, make it larger or smaller. Finally, I can click the Pan Floor Material button, and then I can go into the layout, hold down my left mouse button, and drag the layout around, the floor around. Those three last options are really good if you're doing like tiled flooring and you want to adjust the tile properly and have the correct size, or if you uploaded your own textures, you can adapt those to look exactly the way you want. So that is how you make changes quickly for an entire room. We'll go into 3D now, and we'll take you to top view, top side view, using the orbit button. And I'll tilt the layout a little bit so we can see it better. And here we see the changes we made in that room. And we increased the ceiling height to 6 meters. We have that green looking walls and the darker floor. Very easily. And we'll take a step backwards. I mentioned that you can change entire rooms, but you can also make changes to individual walls. And to do that, we simply make sure we're in the room tab, which we still are, and then you move your mouse over walls like this, and they become blue. And you can click on the wall, and you'll get information. A new menu here called Wall Properties. So now we have the properties for just this wall. And if we zoom in, you'll see that you have an A and a B side to this wall. And that is for the option of changing colors or materials to each individual side. So you can have a green wall on this side and a brick wall on the other for example. When I click on that wall and make it active, in the property menu here I can change floor height and wall height. And we're going to come back to that a little bit later on, because it's all about making sloping ceiling or sloping floors, for example. We see the current length of that wall, 6 meters. And if I want, I can change the thickness of a wall. Here we have 2 decimeters, because that's my standard when we started out, but we can type in 4 decimeters and it instantly changes to 4. We can go in here on this wall alone and unmark baseboard if I don't want to use the baseboard. If I have it, I can change the height of the baseboard. The standard is 6 centimeters for me, but you can change that to maybe a higher baseboard if you're doing an older room where you have high baseboards. Over here, we'll zoom out a little bit, and we'll click on this wall instead for the next option. The next option is hide wall. And when I click on a wall and then click on hide wall and click outside, you'll see that that wall is now transparent. It's hidden. And if we go into 3D, you'll see that change. Now we have a big wide open area where the floor changes and the wall colors changes, because of course we made that wall transparent or hidden. So that's how you can make a big open area with 2 different flooring. I'll click on that wall again and make it visible again. And when I click outside, you'll see that it's now back. Then, if we continue, curve a wall, which is possible in Ecdesign. We click on the wall, we'll click on this wall, click curve, and then I go back onto the wall, hold down my left mouse button and move up or down to curve that wall. So it's very easy. And if you can even create like S-curved walls if you do short wall sections, like 3 wall sections, and then you curve one up the next one down, and the third one up again. And then you have an S-curved wall. If you want to make a wall straight again, just simply click the Make Straight button. The Rescale Layout button we'll come back to a little bit later in a different video. Then we have those A and B sides that I mentioned before. So you can change the colors on each individual side in 2D very quickly. And you simply click on A side material, for example, if I wanted to change that side. And let's do a brick wall instead. Let's do a white brick wall on A side. So my side B will remain the same as my standard, but the A side has now changed. We'll go into 3D again. Do it from top view. And we see that new brick wall right there. Now we've done a lot of changes to the rooms and to the walls in 2D. In the Ecdesign, you can now also make changes to the flooring, the wall colors, the ceilings when you're in 3D. So you don't have to do all that planning in 2D. You can actually do it here as well. And I'm going to rotate this layout a little bit, and we'll go over here. And first I'm going to show how you can make changes and edit walls when you're in Ecdesign 3D. And to activate that, we're going to go up here and select Edit Walls. And when I click on that, I can move over walls like this, and it becomes green. And the one I want to change, I'm going to click on. That will show a wall property menu in 3D. And the first thing I want to do, I want to change a different wall material to something else here. So I'm going to click on Wall Material. That will load the Wall Material menu. And then I could pick brick walls or anything, colors, but I'm going to select Custom. And I'm going to place my own image on that wall. So I'm going to select one that I have and then click Use. Then it will ask, do I want to change all, do I want this change to affect all the walls that I have that are of the same material? And that, if I said yes, all the white walls would now start having that new custom material that I selected. So I'm going to say no, because I just want this wall to change. And then it will appear like this as a big puzzle. And that is so you can use any texture on any wall. What we need to do now is just simply use the sliders here to tweak it. And I'm going to start vertical, slide the bar like that, and then slide the horizontal bar just like that to adjust it the way I want. If the image came the wrong way, you can always mirror the texture. So perhaps you had a logo on the wall and it came in the wrong way, you just simply select the mirror texture option. You can pan the layout also sideways, up and down. So it's very easy to adjust it. The custom material, or the brick material we did over here, we can also adjust if we want. I can keep that texture, but I can adjust the size very easily. So that is how you change walls when in 3D. I'll show you also how you can make changes to ceiling and walls, floor. And currently we're in top view, so we don't see the ceiling, but I'm going to click on Edit Rooms instead now. And then I can move over the floor. And if we were inside the layout, also the ceiling would be active. But now we're going to click on the floor, and we have a menu for the floor here, and I could pick a new floor material or new ceiling material. We're going to keep that, but I'm just going to show you the rotation option so you can rotate the floor when in 3D as well, or change the scaling as well. So it's really cool that you can make changes to the layout when in 3D as well. Now we're going to close, and we're back into 2D, and we'll move on. Now we're going to add doors, windows, and openings, which are called gaps in Ecdesign. So we click on the Gap tab. That will load my gap options here, and we'll select Windows. And when I select Windows, it looks like we only have 6 different options. But in Ecdesign, you can customize the dimensions of a window, for example, or any gap, and also the altitude, the height from the floor. So I'll select a 2-panel window here, and I click once, then I move into the layout and double click. So I click once on the thumbnail, move into the layout, and double click on the wall. And it's right there. And I can move it left or right, but I can also, when I click on it, get the gap property menu to appear, and we can adjust the dimensions. So let's say we want 4 meter wide windows, and I want those windows to be, let's make them 4 meters high too. Altitude is by default 2 decimeters up, so it doesn't go straightly into a baseboard if you have that. But you can change the altitude to any altitude. Then we'll zoom in, because the more I zoom in, the slower the measurement will move here, so it's easy to adjust it to proper distance. So it's 7 decimeters away from that wall. And a lot of the times when you use, for example, windows, you use the same window over and over again. You duplicate them at a certain distance. So maybe I want a wall here with a few windows, and I want them to be 4 meters, and I want them to be at a fixed distance. And here on that window, which is active, you see a blue and a black arrow. And in my gap property menu, we have a blue and a black arrow. And in the middle, we have a distance. And now I can select my distance. Maybe I want a new window every 3 decimeters. And then because I want to copy to my right, I'm going to click on that black arrow. And when I do that, a new window appears 3 decimeters away. And if I just click again and again, it continues to add those. You can of course just grab a hold of a window and readjust it any way you want, or change the dimensions afterwards. If I want to add another one similar, just double click and it comes over here. If I want to change the dimensions, maybe just make it 2 meters in width, I can do that and adjust it to a position where I want it to be. And once again, if you zoom in, it's going to move, in this case centimeter by centimeter. And if I click on the blue arrow now, it's going to add new windows 3 decimeters apart. Okay, that was how I add my windows. If we go back, we can of course add a door. We'll select the door option. Let's add a double glass door over here, and I double click and it comes in to my layout. If I double click again on it, it's going to change direction. So now it's opening the other way. If I use single doors, I would simply double click as many times as I need to make a rotation, a full circle, so you can have them open in any direction. And of course, if I wanted, I could change the properties, the size of that door, just like I did with the window. The final gap is called openings, and openings allows me to create a hole in an existing wall. So I'm going to select opening, and we'll do a hole in the wall right here. So I'm going to double click, and let's make it a little bit wider. So we'll make it 4 meters wide and maybe 3.5 meters high. And I'm going to keep it at 0 altitude because I want this to be a door opening to walk into. And then we'll go into 3D and we'll see the result of this. So here we go. We have our windows in place, that opening, and if we turn our head over here, that glass door. And when you see the windows here, it's pretty nice because in Ecdesign 4 you get window sunlight coming in. And if you want, you can redirect the sunlight by clicking on the sun setting button, and you can change its direction using the sliders. If you want, you can change the strength of the sunlight, strong light or very little if it's evening time, for example, or morning time. You also have an option of selecting if you want a warmer sun or a standard sun. So that's very helpful. And to close that menu, you simply click on the sun setting icon again. And also in Ecdesign, later on you'll see how you can add your own views of the outside. Like if you have a really nice golf course on the outside or a parking lot or something, you can actually upload and place real photos on the outside. But if you're in a hurry and you just want some more color into the layout, you can click the sky dome next to it. And then it will appear some standard outside views. And you simply click on one. We'll close the sky dome. We get a 360 view here, just to bring in some more realism into the layout. Okay, that was our gap option. Now we're going to start looking at objects because we want to add objects into the layout. This is just an empty scene right now. So we go to objects, and as I mentioned before, I'm running a fitness version. So I have a lot of fitness manufacturers and fitness equipment in this version. And each product category or headline is marked in black. And next to it, it's a globe. And if you click on that, you go to the website of that manufacturer. You will also find a few blue libraries like this, sports flooring and standard in this case, and it's generic libraries that we provide. And those don't have the globe. On the top here, I have a quick search, so you can search for anything. So if I'm looking for televisions, I just type in TV and we see the different options for that. So it's a quick search, very helpful. Okay, I'm gonna add some equipment into this layout and start doing the space planning. I'm gonna select from this library, cardio equipment, and I wanna start with some treadmills in this case. But it could be completely different furniture or different objects depending on your version. Then I'm going to click on treadmills, and I'm going to add a treadmill. And to add equipment objects in Ecdesign, you hold down the left mouse button and you drag it out into the layout, and then you let go. And you'll see flashing in green now because it's active, but I don't click outside. A 2D icon, which is a really nice top view scan object, so you clearly see what object it is, already in 2D. And when I drag it out, the thumbnail will become gray, just to tell me that this object is now in the layout. And if I place my mouse just on top of the object, in your top right corner above the X and Y fields, you'll find the name of the product as well. Okay, I'm just going to move my camera, which is the starting point for the 3D, and move it around, so keep that out of the way. Then I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and move the treadmill to a position. If I want, I could rotate by holding down on top of that arrow and just moving my mouse in a circle. And because it's a treadmill, I want to duplicate this. I want to have 4 treadmills lined up here. And to do that, you simply click on that treadmill so you know it's active, it's flashing. And then in the property menu for this object, I can select a CC measurement where I can duplicate this object. So I want to duplicate 1 meter, and in this case I want to duplicate to my right. So I'm going to click on the right arrow here, and I click once, and a new treadmill appears. 1 meter CC distance. And I'll click again and again. So it just continues to add those. If you want to move them all at once when you're done, you just hold down left mouse button, make a lasso around it, and then you can move it as a group together. And I can hold down on top of that arrow and make a circle to line it. When you have groups like this, when you made lasso of 2 or more objects, you can also add a rotation. So you can type in an angle here if you would like to do that. But in this case, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to line the treadmills like that. If you want, you can save this or lock it down as a group, and you do that by making the lasso, which we've done. They're all flashing, and I can go to the group button, click on group, and now it's locked as a group together. And to ungroup, you simply need to click on ungroup button, and they're single objects again. Let's do undo to get it back into line. Now we'll position the cardio once more, and we'll take a step backwards, and we'll add some cross trainers. Same thing, hold down on top with your left mouse button and drag it out and rotate. And let's do a duplication here as well, just like that. And if we want, we can make a lasso and adjust it. We'll take a step backwards and we'll add some strength equipment in this case also. Strength, and we'll do some plate loaded machines. We'll zoom out a little bit. We're not going to completely do an entire layout here, but I just want to show you how easy it is to do the planning here. So I'm dragging out just a few objects, and as I mentioned, if you wanted to align those, you simply use the arrows just like that. Okay, that's enough for now. We'll go into 3D, and we see the result in 3D. And I can move around, of course, and we can have a look over here and we see our strength pieces as well. So it's very easy to do that planning process. Now, in Ecdesign, you can also, in 3D, add new objects or move existing ones very easily. And to do that, you need to activate the objects. And if I want to move objects, I simply go up here and select Move Edit Objects. That becomes blue. And now when I move my mouse over objects, you'll see a white box next to it. And if I hold down my left mouse button, I can move using my mouse that object. And you see a distance that I'm moving it on the floor there. And the shadow will update once I let go. So you can place it wherever you want. And when we clicked on that, we'll have the toolbar here. So I can select Rotate and then go back, hold down left mouse button, and I can rotate that object as well. Later on, if we, for example, had televisions, we can elevate an object as well. So I'll do it just to show you how that works. Just hold down left mouse button and drag it up. And we'll snap back on that floor when you bring it back down. If we move over here, I'll show you the duplication option as well. If you click on this button, it's duplicate. But first we're going to activate an object. Let's click on this one, the cross trainer, and we click on duplicate, and I just hover over here and you see it will show different directions that you can copy, and it's just a preview. That object is not placed into the scene yet. That will happen when I found my correct duplication. If you want to change the distance, you simply start off by changing, maybe I want a new cross trainer 3 meters away. So I type that in and then you see it right there and I click and it will add that treadmill. If you want to remove it, simply click the trash can once the object is activated when it's yellow and it goes away. Okay, we'll close the duplication option. We'll move over here and I'll show you one more thing. We'll click on this object and this object has color options. So you can change colors instantly in the real-time 3D as well. So in my menu we have frame and upholstery here. So if I want to change the upholstery to brown, I simply click brown and it's going to ask me, do I want to change all the objects of the same line? And this is the same line. So if I say yes now, it's going to place brown upholstery on all of them right now. So it's really nice. If you want, you can change the frame too, for example, and we'll do that. And now we have white frame. We're back to silver. If I said no, it would just change the color options for one piece. Perfect. And we'll move over here. And now I want to show you how you can add new objects into the layout as well. And you do that by clicking on the assortments button right here. And that's going to load my assortments menu. And we could go down and we can add anything that we want into the scene. Let's go to indoor libraries. And here I have my generic libraries and we'll select plants. And then we can drag out a plant into the layout instantly in real-time 3D. We'll add another one, just like that. If we take a step backwards, we'll add some more cardio equipment. Let's add a stair mill. Hold down, drag out. If you want, we can make a copy. Let's put it 1.4. Click the duplicate option and add another one. And when you're ready, we can close those two menus and we're good. This menu, the navigation to move objects, you can move around. So it's not fixed in one location. Just a small tip there. Okay. I'll also show you, we'll make the outside white just to make it more clear. We'll take it to top view. I can make changes here too. You can make click on the move edit object option again, and we can make a lasso around those two and readjust those, or if I want I can move objects in top view as well or in side view. any view is possible to make changes. A lasso to move objects together as a group. Excellent. That was the 3D options to move and add new objects. We'll close. And now we're actually going to stop this lesson, and you can continue and look at the next lesson and learn more about Ecdesign as we go along. Thank you very much for watching.